So the people I've invited today are going to cover that area. So if you allow them to present it and then ask questions at the end, it'll be about 15-10 minutes to ask questions at the end. Okay, so I welcome Sophie and Mr. Ford from LoveBioMe company. Let's welcome them up.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. What I'd like to do first and foremost is to thank the individuals that have allowed us to be here today, Noel and Pastor Michael, and I'd like to thank my business partner, Ms. Sophia Johnson, again for helping us to be here. First and foremost, my name is Clayton Ford. I'm of Jamaican parentage. I basically have 5 children, 3 grandchildren. Was 4 years old. My granddad was a pastor in Jamaica. So as I sat here today and just feeling the energy and thinking to myself, okay, fine, there's a certain way that I present in business and there's a certain way I guess I present today. What I will assure you is that the information that we have to share is really important. So what I'd like to do is, next slide please, and let's see what comes up next. Okay, so really want to start by asking the question, why are we here? And so I represent a company called LoveBioMe out of the United States, Utah, and I also represent a group in the UK called the Health Capital Group. Now that group consists of individuals who are enthusiastic about health, they are business entrepreneurs, they are naturopathic nutritional therapists, and they are very passionate about helping people to understand how important health really is. So in terms of why we're here for a number of reasons. And I'm going to start off by saying a number of things which I hope will hit you in a certain way. We have different age groups in this room. I notice there are children right through to basically our elders. And what I absolutely categorically know, which you may or may not know, is that we, as human beings, doesn't matter our age groups, unfortunately we're being targeted. And our health is being targeted in not so good a way. I'm going to give you a model, and you may agree with it, you may not agree with it, that is not the point for today, but it's just to lay a foundation as to where we're going. If, for example, we appreciate the fact that the health industry, or the pharmaceutical industry, is reliant on unhealthy people to survive, then hopefully that gives you a clue. If there are no unhealthy people on the planet, then there are no pharmaceutical companies. Would everybody agree with that? Yes. Are we sure? Yes. Okay? So they need unhealthy people to survive. So that's just one foundation. The other question I'd like to ask you is, what is the most important thing you are doing right now? What's the most important thing you are doing right now? Breathing. Who said that? Somebody said something?
Breathing.
Breathing.
Yes.
Fantastic. Right? I'm so glad you said that. Because ultimately, if you take a breath, just take a breath from me right now. And then breathe out. Right? There is an incredibly complex process that takes place just by you breathing in and breathing out, that most of us take for granted. We didn't wake up this morning and basically say, how do I breathe, how do I go about it? We are just doing it, right? And as a consequence, when we do things so naturally, do we ever think about it? Do you actually think about the majority of things that you just do naturally? No, we just do it. So health tends to be something that we don't tend to think about because we've been fortunate enough to be born, start breathing, our heart is beating, we're expanding our lungs, contracting our lungs, and we're just doing it naturally. And we continue to do that as we get older and older and older, just taking it for granted. And it may just be that point where we find it difficult to take a breath that we start considering our health. So what we want to do today is not wait until it's too late. We want to be proactive in terms of our health. But there are a number of things that we have to do first, which is to understand why we're here. So I'm going to ask you 2 more questions and then I'll begin. Number 1, who has heard of the word microbiome? If you have, put your hands up. Okay, please look around the room. Keep your hands up for those who have your hands up, and then look around the room. So that's one of the reasons why we're here. There aren't enough hands up. Okay, we're going to put our hands down. Second question. Who has heard of the word dysbiosis? If you've heard of the word, please put your hands up. Fantastic. Again, look around the room. I'm so pleased that there are at least a number of people in the room that have heard of the word dysbiosis and also microbiome. But it basically proves a point as to why we are here today. Next slide, please. What we want to do is to make sure we have a countdown to optimal health. We're going to start with point number 3. I'd like to direct your attention to the top left where it says awareness. So we want to bring an awareness of what the microbiome is to as many individuals in our families, our friends, our individual communities, and generally around the world. Because not everybody understands or have even heard of the word, just like we've had today. I think we had 3 or 4 hands up in this entire congregation as to what the microbiome is. So let me explain to you real quickly what the microbiome is. And there's no debate about this. It's scientific fact, it's naturopathically proven, it's naturopathically understood to be the center of our health, the absolute center of human health and wellness. And fundamentally, if I ask the question, who was aware that 70 to 80% of your immune system resides in your gut? How many people were aware of that fact? Again, if you look around the room, not many people. And again, that's great. That's part of the reason why we're here. So we want individuals to understand what the microbiome is. It is the center of human health and wellness. Now we also want to make sure, point number 2 at the top, is essentially making sure individuals have an understanding of what dysbiosis is. Dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is essentially the critical, the detrimental imbalance of the gut bacteria. So in your gut, there are trillions, i.e. billions of billions or millions of billions of millions of bacteria in your gut. And they all perform very, very specific functions that basically help you to continue breathing, to basically have your heart beating. There's specific functions in our body that basically our gut bacteria speaks to. Every single biological system that you are taking advantage of right now, whether you are aware of it or not, basically connects to your gut bacteria. So it says, when our gut bacteria is out of balance, that's when we start walking into challenges, ailments, diabetes, cancer, dementia. You can mention any disease in this room today and outside of this room today, and it all basically starts as a result of an imbalance in our gut bacteria. So I'm going to ask just one question. Is anybody aware of anybody outside of this congregation that has an illness? Please put your hand up. Are you aware of anybody outside this congregation that has an illness? Right? Diabetes, blood pressure, arthritis. Right? So these are really, really common ones. But then we have others that are not so, let's just say, common. Children, for example, ADHD, autism. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on, and yet all of them stem from an imbalance in our gut bacteria. Again, there's no debate, there's no opinion. It's just scientific fact, naturopathically proven facts. So, that takes us on to the countdown to number 1. It's all well and good to understand what the microbiome is, to understand what dysbiosis is and all of the challenges that basically can present for us. But what is it that we are going to do about it? So we have some very, very simple, easy, convenient solutions for individuals to be able to get back into a state called rebiosis, which is where you have a healthy, diverse gut bacteria. Just to give you an idea, if we were to compare our gut microbiome, i.e. all of the bacteria in our gut, to individual jobs in this congregation. And let's just say I gave a group the job to take care of our lungs. I gave another group the job to take care of our eyes. I gave another group the job to take care of our ears. I gave another group the job to take care of our muscles. I gave another group the job to take care of our bones. Now we all have individual jobs to do. Agreed? Now we need to give the tools to do those jobs. Would everyone agree with that? In your workplace, you may call it skills, you may call it exams, certifications, whatever. In the body, we need specific bacteria to do those jobs. We also need to give those bacteria food to be able to do their job. Who's heard of the word probiotic? Prebiotic. So these are just fancy words for bacteria and the food that they need. And then we get something called postbiotics, which is the function that they go off to perform. Does that make sense in very simple terms? So our gut bacteria is something that's really, really complex, but yet it's very, very simple. And because we are unaware of it, because it's just like breathing, it's just there. If you put your hand on your gut, it's just there. But the question is, how healthy is it? How diverse is it? How is it performing for you? But more importantly, how is it performing for your children and those behind you? I lost my mom, my dad, my stepdad, my aunties to cancer. And I remember my mom saying to me, son, cancer runs in our family. And I said to my mom, as much as I love you, I have to disagree with that statement. Cancer doesn't run in our family. Lifestyle and the eating habits run in our family. So I'm not going to stand here to debate or contradict or to stand on the soapbox to say what you're eating may be contributing to the state of health that you are in or not in. What I am going to say is that what we put in our mouths ultimately contributes to how well our microbiome is, and therefore how well our children, you, your grandchildren will be. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next slide, please. This is not a biology lesson, but I want everyone to have a sense as to how important the microbiome is. In the middle of your screen, you see what looks like some blue stuff. Everybody see that? That represents your bacteria. Next to that, you see essentially your stomach, your large intestine, your small intestine, right? And that's essentially where your gut microbiome resides. Now, if you go to the top right, you see what is called gut-brain axis. Again, don't let the words confuse in any way, shape, or form. It's just to say there is a connection, for example, between your gut and your brain. Now, has anybody ever taken a decision by saying, I have a gut feeling? Has everybody had a gut feeling for something? And you did it, made a decision based upon your gut? Right? The reason why that happens is because biologically there is a connection between your gut and your brain. For those of you that are more into this stuff, it's called your vagus nerve. It connects your gut to your brain. Has anybody ever had cravings where you just fancy some crisp or some chocolate or some, right? Yeah. Let me share this with you. That has everything to do with the bad bacteria in your gut sending a text message to your brain to say, tell itself that I want some crisps, I want some sugar, I want some whatever it may be. It's your bad bacteria, parasites some people call it, sending a text message to your brain to say, tell self to go into the cupboard, open it, take out, eat. It is so fantastic when you understand this. But yet we do it without realizing that we're doing it because we are no longer necessarily in control of the messages that are being sent from our microbiome to our brain. So we have a responsibility to say, okay, now that I understand that there are some bad bacteria that sends bad messages to my brain to get me to put bad things in my mouth, how do I go about essentially ridding myself of that over a period of time? Does that make sense? Okay? So, there are other connections. Heart diseases, hypertension, blood pressure, for example, gut lungs, people with challenges breathing, asthma. Okay? You have gut liver, fatty liver, people on dialysis. with liver challenges. Drinking too much alcohol, for example, doesn't help, okay? Or gut bone, arthritis. So it doesn't matter. Children with acne, adults with bad skin, young people looking old. Again, coming down to the gut-skin axis. So it doesn't matter what you can point to in terms of ailments and diseases. It's all coming from the gut. I'm going to take a look at, we're in church today, so I'm going to be respectful. But at the same time, I have to get across messages that are impactful. I was saying to one of my business partners the other day that some of the things that we don't talk about in our business, i.e. microbiome-centered wellness, is things like smells. What does someone's breath smell like? What does their perspiration and BO smells like, their body odor? Women with, for example, endometriosis, fibroids. Vaginal health is important. For men, urinary tract health is important. And again, if you look at this screen where it says gut reproductive axis, all of these things come and speak from the gut microbiome. It's not our fault, for example, the elder people in the room, that for those of us that used to relax our hair, curly perms, a lot of women now, 20 years on, 30 years on, realize that actually they have fibroids as a result of the chemicals that were going into the largest the largest organ of our body, called the skin, affecting our microbiome, reproductive axis, creating things like fibroids in women, making it difficult for them to have children. Making sense? So it all comes from our gut microbiome. Doesn't matter what we do, we can't hide from it. And so what we want to introduce is essentially bacterial diversity. I'll explain that very shortly. We want to have a large range of healthy gut bacteria so that all of our bodily functions work well and work well over a long period of time. Because this information is life impacting, it's life changing, and for some people it could be life saving. It is that important. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, come back to why are we here. Unfortunately, every 60 seconds, every 1 minute, I don't know how long I've been speaking, but every 60 seconds claims 106 lives. 106 people will transition from this physical realm to another, if you believe in that, going from here to heaven, here to hell, whatever you believe. 106 people, mainly due to illness. And the sad thing is that if we were to go back in time, a lot of these illnesses could have been avoided if individuals were more aware of this really, really important center of health and human wellness called the microbiome. 60 seconds, 106 lives. Children, men, women, grandparents, and so on. So our food choices, which have been heavily influenced by media, marketing, TV. Who in this room has ever used the words or heard the words being said, I am going to treat my children to McDonald's? Anybody ever heard that?
Yes.
That's fine, I mean, it's okay, no judgments, right? I'm going to treat my children to McDonald's.
Yes.
Such is the power of marketing that McDonald's have positioned themselves as restaurants. There are McDonald's restaurants, McDonald's fast foods, and we consider McDonald's to be food. Food, by definition, should nourish us.
Yes.
Food, by definition, should nourish us. Food, by definition, is a singular word. An apple, a banana, a pear. If I take an apple, for example, that would be an example of food. If I now turn it into an apple pie, that's now a product. Right? So when we go shopping, we are buying products. And when you look at the list of ingredients in those products, you're going to find that the vast majority of it is not food. Okay? Now, there's a reason for that. It says our food choices are heavily influenced. Next slide, please. I have a question for you. Did you know that a lot of the major food companies, and I am not at liberty to share which ones, I don't want to get myself in trouble, you can do your research. Did you know that many food companies were or are owned by former tobacco companies? If you are aware, put your hands up. If you're, or should I say, if you are not aware, please put your hand up. That a lot of food companies are owned by former tobacco companies, right? So for those of you that have your hands up, congratulations, or congratulations, you're going to learn some stuff. If I were to ask a question, what skill, if you like, do you think that tobacco companies have or had? What's their main skill?
Marketing.
Marketing. To do what?
To tell something that will kill you to something that you benefit from.
To sometimes kill you, to sometimes benefit.
Something that will kill a person and make it fashionable, fancy.
Right. To kill a person and make it fashionable. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So the main skill that the tobacco companies had was getting people addicted to their products called cigarettes. The main thing being nicotine. Does anybody smoke in the room? No judgment, it's just a question, right? Now most people smoke because of the addiction. Most people smoke because of the addiction. Now, I'll share some facts with you and I'll move on. The tobacco companies, when they were being forced to put labels on their product, which basically said cigarettes, smoking is bad for you, and then they went to words, and then some went to pictures of unhealthy lungs, they started to see that the sales of cigarettes started to decline. Now, if you're in business and you're running that business and you see that your sales are starting to decline, you may ask a question, what are we going to do about it? And such was the, let's say, the campaign against the cigarette companies. They decided to change strategy and started to buy and spend billions, with a B, billions on buying up food companies. Late 1960s, early 70s, right? And when you look at the graph of sales of cigarettes going down, they then started buying these food companies. You started to see an increase in processed foods. Why? Because the skill that the tobacco companies brought to the food industry is the ability to get consumers addicted to food. The ability to get consumers, you and I, your children, your mom, your dad, your brother, your grandparents, addicted to food or food products. And that's why you will see a direct increase in the amount of processed or ultra-processed foods. What's an example of processed foods? Apple is food. Apple pie in McDonald's is ultra-processed food. An apple pie in McDonald's is ultra-processed foods. It's no longer, it's now fully a product. It's no longer food. So when a child eats it, or you eat it, you may feel like you have eaten for a while, but it's not too long before you feel hungry again. You know why? Your microbiome says, where is the nutrition? And if you don't have nutrition, your body feels hungry. Hunger isn't about food per se, it's about nutrition. You need nutrition to basically do the things that your body needs to be done. Am I making sense? Do you agree? Okay, perfect. So, the food companies or the tobacco companies brought addiction to our foods. And if you want to make a note of a new word for yourself, hyper-palatable foods. Hyper-palatable foods, i.e., what can we do to make food so lovely that individuals want it over and over again? Who has tomato ketchup at home? Right? We've always had tomato ketchup from forever. Our children love it, our grandchildren love it, our parents used to love it. And future generations will continue to love it. You know why? It has one major ingredient that we all love: sugar. Addictive substances. Next slide, please. Now, on the previous slide, you may have noticed things like, who likes pizza? Who likes popcorn? Who likes chocolate? Right? There's a whole bunch of things that are on the previous slides that are addictive. Who likes Coca-Cola and sodas? Right? As time goes on, thank you for being honest, Mom, okay? I mean, it's okay to like these things, because when you don't know, you don't know. You're just responding to what your body says, yummy, 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 right? But it's yummy, yummy, yummy because it creates a connection between the gut and the brain. It releases certain chemicals in your body, dopamine, that makes you feel good. So if you're going to consume something that's going to make you feel good, and then you don't feel good 20 minutes later, you want to feel good again, right? So you go back and you have some more of it. It makes you feel good. 20 minutes later, an hour later, you don't feel so good. And then the cycle continues. That is how addiction works. So that's the reason why you love pizzas and Coca-Cola and chocolate. So the reality of it is, ladies and gentlemen, is we have choices to make and we have decisions to make. So we make choices, but we also got decisions to make. And today is to get you to think about what choices are we making, consciously or unconsciously. A conscious choice might be, I leave this building today and say, I am going to buy a Snicker bar. Because I used to love Snicker bars. I used to love Bounty. I used to love Twix. I used to love Haribo's. I used to love a whole bunch of stuff that I used to absolutely love. And it probably there wouldn't be 2 days that goes by without me having at least one of those things. Right? I didn't know that I was eating those things out of craving rather than natural desire. So the choices we make are often to have addictive foods that are nutritionally bankrupt, nutritionally deficient, nothing in them that's really going to help us to dance around like. As I sat down for a while as the congregation was dancing around, because I like to observe, I like to pay attention. And I'm so happy to see that there was no one that was struggling to get around. Pastor, make sure you got your steps into them. Right? You got your steps in and you've been moving all morning, which is really, really good. Okay? So we have to make a choice between addictive, nutritionally deficient foods. I am not going to stand here and say, don't eat McDonald's. What I will say is, if you are going to eat McDonald's, understand that you're making a choice that is not the best choice for your health or the health of your children. It's just not. There is so much sugar in the chips that they eat, the burger, the ketchup. It's unbelievable. And there's virtually zero nutrient value in that food. They eat it, they feel full for a while, but like I said before, the body goes back and says, where is the nutrients? I'm hungry again. McDonald's does well, it's got your money, but what about you and your microbiome? Does that make sense? Okay? So, the decision that we are wanting to cultivate in the individuals and communities that we speak to is just simply to make better decisions. And that is to move towards a more wholesome way of eating or feeding your microbiome at a minimum. And we're going to show you some solutions as to how you can do that. At a minimum, you want to be feeding your microbiome friendly food. And that's a decision that you're going to have to make. All we can do is just make you aware, give you some understanding, and then hopefully you'll be motivated enough for yourself. I look to the children. The picture in my mind is McDonald's is pointing a gun at the microbiome of my child. McDonald's, maybe I should keep saying McDonald's, but they're just one company that's pointing a gun at the microbiome of my grandchildren. Likewise yours. That's the model I have in my mind because it keeps me motivated to, at a minimum, speak to my children, my grandchildren in a certain way that they can start to make more informed choices about what they choose to consume. as opposed to what they are being marketed to consume. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Next slide, please. Okay, so we said we're going to present some solutions. So I'll start from the point of fact that the microbiome requires nutritional diversity from a range of foods, number one, and also a range of food colors, number two. When we were growing up, we were always told to eat our greens. Have you ever told your child to eat the greens and it's the first thing they run away from?
Yes.
Right? What is it about greens that children don't like? I've got no idea. But the reality of it is we were encouraged to eat our greens. Great information, but that's only one color group. There are different color groups that do different things for our body, our energy, our immune system, our respiratory system, and so on. So we now know that we need to eat a rainbow of colors coming from organically farmed places, nutritionally rich places around the world. Has anyone heard of the blue zone before? The blue zone in the world is where people live the longest. And when you take a look at the types of foods that they eat, berries and so on, our company has gone to these types of places, looked at the foods that these people eat, and basically made sure that they've taken color groups from those zones and put into our product. All naturally harvested, no pesticides, none of that stuff. No GMO, vegan friendly, keto friendly. There's no one in the room that cannot consume the products that we basically provide because it's all globally sourced, organic. It has 5 color groups in there. Gluten, dairy free, soy free, and the detail for anyone that's familiar with noni. Has anybody heard of Tahitian noni? Noni is what's called a superfruit or superfood. It provides essential phytonutrients to the body that the body doesn't necessarily cultivate itself. It's a powerful anti-inflammatory. In very simple terms, inflammation in the body causes issues. And those issues, again, stem from an imbalanced microbiome. I'll give you some direct comparisons, if you like, and then we move on. Too much sugar in the blood equals diabetes. Too much sugar in the brain, dementia. Right? Just 2 examples. Too much sugar in the eyes, glaucoma. So wherever sugar goes to too much, it creates issues. And the issues stem as a result of inflammation. Inflammation is bad for the body, but it's so easy for it to happen because of. Our product speaks to those types of issues. So, we have 40 food groups, 40 different food groups in our main product to make sure we give the microbiome a diverse range of foods to eat from and also a diverse range of color groups to feed from. There are 8 bacterial strains. Why are bacterial strains important? As I said before, if we were to give different groups in the room different activities to perform, take care of the eyes, take care of the lungs, take care of the heart, it requires certain foods. Okay? So our bacterial strains make sure that there is a strong army of healthy bacteria to perform good functions. And then lastly, 5 digestive enzymes. Does anyone know anyone that has irritable bowel syndrome, for example? Can't eat milk or cheese and stuff like that. Gluten, can't handle gluten. The whole reason why that happens is that the body doesn't have the tools to break down, cut up and digest those particular foods. So again, we provide 5 digestive enzymes to help the body to have all of the enzymes required to break down whether it's protein, cheese, milk, whatever you want to eat, so that you can break down all types of foods. So if you have an allergy, or you have an ailment, or you have IBS, over a period of time, whilst I'm not allowed to say we can cure anything, the likelihood is you'll start to see a change. Because you're giving the body what it needs to do, what it needs to do. So, we're affecting digestion, immune system, nutrient absorption, energy. You guys have got energy, I've seen that, but some people go home and they're tired after this, right? So we provide energy, circulation, skin health, and again, reducing inflammation. And it happens with those two bottles you see there, what we call Next Balance, which again, gives the gut bacteria good diversity and balance. We have Next Detox, which basically says to the bad bacteria, leave. Right? There's no place for you anymore. We don't want you sending those bad text messages to the brain to say, go to the cupboard and eat X, Y, and Z. So we have 2 bottles, 2 drinks, 750 mils, 30 servings, they last a month. And then we have what we call our Phyto Power Original. The Phyto Power Original is like the floor in here, more importantly, the foundation of this entire building, this entire church is on the foundation. That is like our Phyto Power Original. Next slide, please. Let me just quickly talk you through what's in the Phyto Power Original. The Phyto Power Original is being described as there's nothing in the world like Phyto Power. And the reason why, technically, that is true is because of the 40 food groups, the 8 digestive enzymes, the 8 bacterial strains, the digestive enzymes, and technically what's called probiotics, prebiotics, and postbiotics, all in one product. We were speaking to one of the foremost doctors, naturopathic nutritionists in the entire UK yesterday, and he was absolutely impressed. And he said, you have good, better, and best. And he hasn't seen a product that has pro, and postbiotics. To give you a visual, pro, and postbiotics is like your bumblebee going to a flower, eating, and then producing honey. Bumblebee, flower, honey. So a bumblebee, flower, and honey is like your probiotics, your prebiotics, and your postbiotics. Just to give you an idea of how important having those 3 are. So we want to encourage you to take ownership of your microbiome, the center of human health and wellness, and give yourself the opportunity to live longer, live healthier. If you have any ailments whatsoever, we know actually that you should start to experience feeling better. That is a fact. And we're going to Q&A, maybe you can answer some of those. Next slide, please. So the question is, what do I need? So that's a question for you. You and only you will know. But what I will say is, top left you see what we call the Daily 3. The box with the 2 bottles next to it. Then we have next to that something we call Phyto Power B. And I'll just go through these really quickly. It speaks to different things that individuals may want or need. For those of us that have diabetes or know individuals with diabetes, that's too much sugar in the blood, like we said. Our Phyto Power B blocks sugar. So when we're eating rice and potatoes and starch and certain carbohydrates, the body breaks that down into sugar. And if you're not highly active, sports, gymming, and all those types of things, that sugar goes to places that it's not needed. And so our Phyto Power B blocks the harmful effects of, number 1, breaking down that sugar, and then basically allows the body to flush what's not needed. That has helped personal friends of ours to go from being diabetic on medication to no longer being diabetic and off medication from April to October, 6 months. Just literally taking half a sachet of our Phyto Power B. For those individuals that want to release a little bit of weight, there are different ways to do that. You can help the body to burn fat a little bit more effectively, or you can basically give the body more fiber to make you feel fuller for longer so you eat less. Does those 2 things make sense? Burn fat more efficiently, or allow yourself to feel fuller for longer so you eat less. Our Phytopower T does the burning, the Phytopower W to the right does the giving you fiber. And then there's some other details which you can learn about at another time. If anybody struggles with sleep or stress, if you go to bed at night and you're not sleeping, then you are doing your body a major disservice. Rest is important. So we have Phytopower C, which is a calming product. You sleep amazingly. And again, it reinforces that gut-brain connection in a healthy way. We have Phytopower I, which is our immune booster. Again, giving you bacterial strains in the microbiome to help you to boost your immune system. I can't tell the last time I've had a cold or flu. I've had so many people coughing around me. But I've even had somebody come, I went to hug them and said, no, I got a flu. I said, don't worry, I'm bulletproof. Because every day I have Phytopower I. Before I came here today, I had my Phytopower I with another couple of products because I now know how important it is to feed my microbiome. For those of you energy, we have what I call a mild energy product. If you just like a gentle pickup and have that throughout the day, we have what's called Phytopower E. It's an energy-based product, natural energy from 2 superfruits. Guarana, for those of you who are familiar with it, and yerba mate out of South America. Beautiful products that people around the world know, natural sources of caffeine, right? Then, for those of us that really want to boost, we go gym, we got an active lifestyle, or we are deficient. For some of you in the room, you may know people that are anemic, that get tired real quick. The oxygen and the blood connection is not quite there. Our Phytopower X is a, excuse my French, I'm from Hackney. My school just used to be down on Kingston High Road. It's now flats, right? Called Kingston School, right? No longer there. But Phytopower X is a bad boy. It is so powerful that when you have it in the morning, you're just going to be like a battery that's connected to your spine, and you're just going to be going through the day full of energy until it gradually wears off. It's not like coffee, spiky, Red Bull, spiky, Monster, spiky, Red Bull, Monster, unhealthy. Our Phytopower X, absolutely healthy. And it has all of your vitamin B's as well. Powerful, powerful, powerful. And then a little known fact is that hydration is, most people, 75% of the reports are chronically dehydrated. Dehydration affects everything from your digestion right through to your sleep and your moods. And most people think that just drinking water is hydration. Hydration is water or water plus important minerals, sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, in certain ratios to make it effective. And then we add in a couple of microbiome-centered activations. So there's a couple of things in our hydration product that makes our hydration product absolutely amazing. My son is a young footballer. I've decided to make him take it, and the reports are he recovers a lot quicker after training sessions and games now. Simply because the microbiome-centered approach is the approach that basically ensures that we can move towards optimal health and wellness. No debate, scientifically proven, naturopathically accepted. So our invitation to you today is really just to talk to us, Sophia Johnson, we're going to be in the room, and just let us know if there's any aspect of your health that you would like to improve, 2024, 2025, and we're able to customize packages and suggestions, and ultimately it's going to be down to you. But what I will say in closing is the testimonies, whether it be young children with ADHD or cancer survivors, and now being able to feel, move, and do things that they weren't being able to do before. We have all age ranges and all conditions 100% covered, because it all starts from the microbiome. So, ladies and gents, thank you very much for listening. So what